Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our co-featured main event of the evening, brought to you by Forum Boxing Incorporated and Caesar's Palace, along with Budweiser, the undisputed king of beers. This bout is sanctioned by the Pentacontinental Boxing Union, President Thomas Hogan, Supervisor at ringside George Yoshinaga, along with the Nevada State Athletic Commission, the Chairman Dr. James Nave, Commissioners Nat Carasali, Dr. Elias Gunham, Luther Mack, and Crispin Rivera. The Executive Director is Mark Ratner. Introducing to you the judges scoring this bout from ringside, Dave Moretti, Al Siciliano, and Lou Tabbitt. And introducing to you the referee in charge, Carlos Padilla. All right, fans, here we go with the co-main event of the evening, the Pentacontinental Super Bantamweight Championship, scheduled for 12 rounds of boxing. Introducing to you first the challenger on my right, fighting out of the red corner. He enters the ring wearing white trunks with blue and red trim and fighting out of St. Louis, Missouri. He weighed in at a ready and even 120 pounds with a record of 19 wins, 2 losses. He has 16 wins coming by way of knockout. He is currently the Penta number 5 ranked contender. Please welcome the former WBA Bantamweight Champion of the World, Fast Eddie Cook. And his opponent across the ring, the defending champion in this bout on my left, fighting out of the blue corner. He enters the ring wearing white trunks with green and red trim, hailing from Mexico City, La Ciudad de Mexico. His weight, 122 pounds. His outstanding record is an unblemished 33 wins, no losses, 23 wins coming by way of knockout. He is currently the WBC number 3 ranked bantamweight contender in the world. Tonight, making his first defense of his Pentacontinental Super Bantamweight crown. Please welcome the fighter known as the baby-faced assassin, the undefeated Marco Antonio Barrera. Instructions, Carlos Padilla.
You were already given instructions earlier. Any question? Okay, let's go.
Short and to the point. We'll check the tail of the tape on these two. Cook is 27, Barrera 20. Barrera is 2.5 inches taller than Cook. He weighs 2 pounds more, and he's got 4 inches in the reach advantage. The rules for Pentacontinental, this title fight: 10-point must system to the winner. Free knockdown rule is in effect. Standing 8 count is in effect. Can't be saved by the bell in any round, and only the referee can stop the fight. That'd be Carlos Padilla. And we're set to go. It is scheduled for 12. There's the bell, and out they come. Fast Eddie Cook. He's the southpaw. (19-2) with 16 knockouts against Marco Antonio Barrera, 33-0 and 23 knockouts.
Tom, I'm expecting fireworks in this fight. This could turn into a real slugfest. Fast Eddie Cook said, Marco Antonio won't have to look for me. I'll be right there in his face.
Barrera is very calm, cool, and collected. Even in press conferences, he seldom talks above a very low, soft monotone. I guess he'd rather let his hands do the talking for him in the ring, eh, Fernando?
Yeah, that's the way he's been since day one, and you know, you have mentioned that throughout his career.
Can you tell me why he's not more of a public figure, or is he a public figure in Mexico?
He's an up-and-coming star, I think, because he hasn't had the big-name opponents like exactly like Eddie Cook.
Well, Cook insists, as long as we brought his name up, that he is the best fighter this kid's ever been in against, and he'll be out to prove that point tonight.
Cook's a former WBA Bantamweight champion of the world. He won the title back in 1992 in March as he knocked out Israel Contreras in 5 rounds, but he lost the title 7 months later on a decision to Jorge Julio Elisier. So he found himself a winner and a loser in the same year of the World Championship.
These guys are wasting little time. They're setting up and teeing off on one another. Antonio Barrera is taller by 2.5 inches. Cook, the southpaw.
One of the things that Cook showed in his previous fight was that
he got nailed with a good left hand, Fernando. Cook got nailed with the left hand.
Beautiful shot by Barrera, and Cook is in real difficulty.
Big trouble. Big trouble. Carlos Padilla, Cook was between the ropes and unable to fight, and Carlos Padilla stopped it for a second to allow him to get back in. Cook got nailed with a solid left hand.
I was saying that he was susceptible to the right hand, not so much the left hand, so he still has a good firepower. This is Barrera in his arsenal.
Keep in mind that Cook is very dangerous, though, even in trouble here. 13 of his 16 knockout wins have come in the first 2 rounds.
Lead right hand by Barrera, and Cook is in trouble again. Barrera is all over him. And they're going to have a count. Going to call it a knockdown, though Cook didn't go to the deck.
That's part of the standing 8 rule. See, that's the right I was talking about. He leaves himself wide open for that right. Barrera knew this.
There's the bell. That's the end of round 1, and a very impressive round for Marco Antonio Barrera. Round number 2 scheduled for 12. From the way Barrera started out, I don't know, but what this is going to be a short evening for him. In recent fights when we've seen him, he's had the tendency to kind of, it looks to us, loaf along a little bit, but tonight he's starting out like a man intent on business.
Well, he pretty much waits for that opportunity and then goes to work, but he didn't have to wait too long tonight.
Joining us at ringside, super middleweight champion Roy Jones Jr., who had a magnificent display of power and speed as he dispatched James Lights Out Tony in what was billed as one of the really great fights of the decade. It didn't turn out that way, not because the 2 men didn't try, but Jones just had too much for Lights Out. The champion's with us. Congratulations. What a great performance.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here with you tonight.
Roy, you couldn't possibly have thought it would be as easy as it turned out to be for you.
Well, actually, I didn't think it would be too hard. I just thought in later rounds maybe he'd try to come on with a little surge of some kind, but it never happened. So it did turn out pretty easy. And I thought it was going to be somewhat like that, but I thought later on he would bring on something to the table for me to really deal with. And I was ready for that, but it never happened.
Moving up to 168 was no problem for you. Will you fight there now at that with the title?
Yeah, I'll do that for a little while. I may go back down to 60 for 1 or 2 fights too, though, because I still feel like I can make the middleweight division pretty comfortably. But in the near future, I also could be going up to the light heavyweight division too. So anything from 160 to 175 could be me.
Shades of Sugar Ray, both of them. You're going to hold a half a dozen titles or so, Roy?
I don't really care about holding a half a dozen titles, so it's just that I like boxing, I like competition, and I'll go where the competition is.
Well, I think that Roy Jones Jr. is the closest thing to Sugar Ray, and I mean the real Sugar Ray Robinson, since we've seen since he retired.
Well, thank you very much, and I think that's a very great compliment because Sugar Ray Robinson was, to me, one of the better fighters of all time. Believe it or not, though, my most favorite fighter that I ever got a chance to visually view while he was alive was Salvador Sanchez.
He fought here.
Certainly did. He beat Danny Little Red Lopez right in this very ring in this building.
That's right. Won the title doing it. Won the title from him, then defeated him again.
Right. And when I was a kid, I thought, I mean, that's who I basically tried to pattern some of my moves after because he never changed his expressions. He always came prepared to fight, and he always was Salvador Sanchez, no matter who he fought.
Fast Eddie Jones, Eddie Cook having a little better time of it here in the second round, although Barrera continues the pressure as round 2 is coming to a close. Scheduled for 12. We'll be back. This is round number 3, scheduled for 12. You're watching Fast Eddie Cook. He's in the white trimmed in red and blue. In the multicolored white, red, and green trunks, Marco Antonio Barrera. They're in here at the super bantamweight limit of 122 pounds. It's round number 3, and they're scheduled for 12. Joining us at ringside also is Roy Jones Jr., the super middleweight champion of the world. A resounding victory, an electrifying one. Great hand and foot speed in his victory over James Lights Out Tony. He's undefeated, and his future very much in front of him.
Tom, Barrera looks as though he's trying to set Eddie Cook up for another big shot here. And Eddie who was a guy who was always aggressive and always in your face. Said yesterday when we talked to him, he can adjust a little more in the ring, and he's showing a little more style now in this round in an attempt to be more of a boxer.
Well, after that first round, in fact, I thought he might be in danger of going down, maybe even out in that first round. As Barrera pretty much had his way with him, I thought Cook put on a pretty good show in round number 2. Fought pretty well.
Cook has to be very careful because Barrera is a very good puncher, very strong puncher, and if he doesn't watch himself, he will find himself in a situation he doesn't want to be in, like right there. A good body shot by Cook, though.
Eddie says he's the toughest fighter and the biggest hitter this kid's ever faced, Roy.
That could be true, but this kid is no slouch. He's 33-0 record, and that's very difficult, even fighting against guys who are not supposed to be so good. So anytime you see a guy with a record like that, you know he's bringing something to the table.
Keep in mind that this is only Cook's second fight in the last 2 years, and the fight that he had was just a month ago, and he was pressed in that fight. He had to work hard to get a 10-round decision against Juan Mendoza at the Forum.
Well, he'll be pressed in this fight too, and he'll be very lucky to come out here with a decision without getting stopped, because this guy's throwing good shot by Cook.
He landed a pretty good right. He caught a left hand just before that. Lands a good left of his own on Barrera's jaw.
He's got the power, Cook, to turn it around.
Yeah, but Barrera will never let up, and you see his expression never changes. He has strong concentration, and he's into just making Cook work until he gets where he wants him. Then he's going to try to close in on Cook.
Yeah, he's very poised. You know, Roy, and that brings me to mind of your fight with Tony. I was surprised, really, during that fight that you didn't take the opportunity. You were winning so easily, the way things were going very much your way, that you kept your mind in business, and you kept your work ethic all the way through. You didn't hot dog and showboat during the fight, really. I mean, you just basically went out there and attended to business.
Right, and that's because, you know, when a guy talks about beating me, that makes me very, very interested in going in and seeing what it is he has planned for me. So I went in to be all business and to win that fight, not to go in and play around much.
Back here at Caesars Palace, the Sports Pavilion, out they come for round number 4. Fast Eddie Cook in the white, red, and blue. In the white, red, and green trunks, the baby-faced assassin, the undefeated Marco Antonio Barrera.
Eddie Cook looked a lot better at the end of the last round. He landed a couple good combinations, and it looks like it may be a little bit more promising for him. But he still has to be very careful.
Indeed he does. Barrera has knocked out 23 guys while winning 33 without a loss.
Another guy you're quite familiar with, Vince Phillips, took care of business in our previous bout.
Right, Vince looked very good to being laid off for so long. I think he's been off for about a year now. And coming out, good shot.
Nice exchange. Cook landing a pretty good shot to the body, and he just did miss hitting Barrera on the point of the chin.
I think he still jolted him, though. I think that's probably one of the harder punches Barrera's taken in his career.
You never know by Barrera's facial outlook. He just never smiles, blinks, shows any concern. He's stoic. Oh, big right hand by Cook.
Good shot by Cook. Cook is coming on point now. He's looking a lot better. Just let him doesn't get too careless.
Well, he's backing Barrera up for the first time in this fight, gentlemen.
That's very good.
That's why you can't underestimate power. The odds makers didn't like Cook's chances 4-1, and in that first round, he looked like just that big an underdog, but he's making a statement here in round 4.
Minute 30 remaining in this, the 4th round. The other voice you're hearing, in addition to Rich Murata and Fernando Paramo, is Roy Jones Jr., the super middleweight champion. One of boxing's great fighters and great champions.
And thank you.
Just going to sit around and rest over the holidays, Roy, and take it easy?
Yeah, I just sit back, play a little basketball, kind of take it easy. View my fight, look for mistakes, look for something to get back in the gym and work on, and I'll be back in action.
But nothing scheduled definitely for you yet, huh?
Not yet.
Roy, are you going to maintain this fiercely independent role that you've